Discovering something scary while hunting, he saw Grizzly Bear behind him suddenly rushing towards him. Before he could react, he was knocked down and faced with this thousands-pound object. He had no ability to resist, he was bitten to pieces and screamed, but the sound excited the monster, causing his sharp claws to scratch him. When the grizzly calmed down, the terrible nightmare was not over yet. The grizzly thought his prey was dead. He hurriedly decided his sovereignty, and then ran towards his child. Glass, enduring the intense pain, crawled to the side and tried to pick up the hunting rifle on the ground. He knew the bear couldn't leave that quickly, meaning his life was still in danger. The intense pain made him feel weak, but he knew this was his only chance. The grizzly bear stepped forward again. The sound of the gun again angered this giant beast. The bullets hit the grizzly bear body, but it wasn't enough to kill it. It made it even more ferocious. Glass was tormented mercilessly and madly biting his back until he was thrown a few meters away. The prey did not react. Glass held his breath and began to pretend died, but the grizzly bear still refused to let go. He held Glass back and began to confirm the life and death of his prey. Grizzly Bear actually breathed like a clown, but refused to let go. Glass also took the opportunity to help him hand him over when confronted. Method of attack: Glass found the right opportunity and started to fight back. Luckily, the bear had already collapsed. When everyone arrived, they couldn't find him. After working together to push the grizzly out, they were extremely shocked from what he saw. Some people believed that such an injury could only live for an hour. However, Glass survived the night with great endurance, but the team could not stop because of him, because the local natives were a threat. On the second day, as soon as the morning dawned, the team set out again and only had to return to the camp to be safe. Nick was carried out on a stretcher. Although it would greatly affect the team progress, the team was not revived. Despite his tenacity, no one would give up. However, the layer of snow under their feet became thicker and thicker. The team's speed also became slower and slower. No matter how hard they tried, they could not reach the snowy mountain in front of the two people in charge of the investigation. Because the front collapsed, they were forced to take a detour. The captain made a difficult decision and ordered a gas blindfold. If he continued carrying the load, he would definitely implicate the entire team, but in the end, he couldn't get out. The kind young man and his son Glass were willing to stay. In addition, the captain also took out the gold coin and left behind the experienced hunter. If Glass really cannot survive, hopefully a funeral ceremony can be held. Luckily for him, the four of them only survived one night, and the hunter couldn't wait to dig the grave. But in the blink of an eye, 3 days later, Glass was still very determined. He took the knife and chased the two young men away. Then he came next to Glass and said that if he continued to persevere, he would kill his son. He decided to spare him the last part, but at this moment his son turned around, pulled out a shotgun and asked him why he did that, but unexpectedly, the other person grabbed him and attacked him. Glass then took the knife and stabbed him to death. Glass witnessed it with his own eyes, but because his throat was so weak, he couldn't make any sound. He could only watch his son being dragged away. When the other boy turned around, he also discovered his son. His brother wasn't here. Then he told him that as soon as he saw the Urukuran not far away, if he didn't leave, his head would be cut off. After saying that, he pulled Glass into the hole and decided to let him live and die on his own. Boy, there was no other choice but to leave his water bottle to Glass. The intense thirst for survival and hatred made Glass endure the pain and crawl out. He knew that if he was discovered by the Urukura people, he would die without a shadow of a doubt. The only thing he could do now was to quickly run away. However, not long after, he saw his son lying cold on one side. On the other side, the boy also realized something was clearly wrong. "I was at the river getting water and didn't notice." "What did you really see?" "The Arero people running down." "Did you see them?" "There was no one." "Why did you lie to me?" "You were taken away by the enemy with your weapon. Now Glass is dead and has no whereabouts. You're still gone." He clearly thinks that the best way is to keep his mouth shut and wait until the two return. They will receive a lot of rewards. However, the hunter did not expect that Glass' heart was on fire, so he slowly left and returned to the camp. Gathering usable equipment, he then put on a fur coat and walked towards the long-rotted corpse. Glass broke the bones and took out the marrow. Although it smelled bad, it was food. The only one who could find Glass struggled to crawl to the riverbank, but was just about to take a sip of river water. It turned out from the wound on his neck that he was pale and coughed violently. Glass picked up a handful of dry glass from the river and then poured the medicine down, apply it to the wound. Finally, he picked up the burning licorice stick, pointed it straight at his throat, and pressed it. The pain made him faint. Then he ate scavengers to satisfy his hunger. If you want to escape this desolate ice area, you must using all resources. Glass wanted to rest here for a few days before leaving. Unexpectedly, he encountered a group of local people. If he was discovered by the Urukura people, he knew he would die miserably. He was forced to hide in the stream of Cal water. There were a lot of people standing up above, seeing that they were about to be discovered by the enemy, so he had to swim the current, but the people on the shore still pulled out their bows and arrow. Glass quickly dived into the water, but tomorrow, he escaped the rain of flying arrows. A great danger was waiting ahead. He was knocked down by the fast-flowing river, but Glass survived, following the water and then reaching the shore. He took off his shirt and lit a fire to examine the wood caused by soakings for so long on his whole body. got an infection, but Glass didn't have time to rest. He had to hurry, replenish his energy. Fortunately, he had many years of experience in the forest and ate it with thirst. He put on his jacket and picked up the weight, but as soon as he climbed up to the riverbank, he seeing a pack of hungry wolves attacking a yak. He could only stand from afar and watch, hoping to pick up some leftover food until late at night. Glass seeing the pack of wolves running away in panic, it turned out that an Urukara had been killed. Chase away the wolves, although he knew it was dangerous. Hunger forced him to take the risk, and when the Urukara pulled out his bow and arrow, he also raised his hands and knelt down on the ground. Glass showed no malice, only hoping to give him a bite to eat. Born on this land, he was already an enemy, but the opponent still generously threw him some beef. Glass picked it up and started eating like a hungry tiger, even though the smell of blood made him nauseous. Glass still refused to make the opponent feel strange. After eating it all, the next day he told the other person what he had gone through. Both had almost the same story. He admired Glass' resilient spirit and decided to take him on the journey with him. But every day, Glass' wound became more and more serious. Finally, in a blizzard, he could no longer resist. He quickly picked up a tree branch to make a fire. Then he set up a tent and applied herbs to Glass' wound. The only thing left was to do it. Relied on himself. At the same time, the boy and the hunter finally returned to the camp, where he lied that he had buried Glass properly, but his son was taken away by the Urukara, and the captain also fulfilled his original promise. I also feel guilty for losing this old companion. On the other hand, Glass finally endured the Urukara, who left to search for his family, leaving behind the only leg of the cow. Glass packing special things and started on the road, but before he could go far, he was scared by what he saw. Unexpectedly, his savior was inexplicably hanged not far away from a group of white people who were clearly the perpetrators, but Glass did not have the ability to take revenge. He could only save an Urukara woman who was blinded after defeating a guy named Lan who was riding a horse and running away. Fortunately, the horse was frightened, so he could not be caught up, but he accidentally did it, dropping a water bottle here on the second day. Glass was awakened by a flying man who appeared from nowhere. A group of Urukara people pulled out his weapon and immediately defeated one of them. Then he quickly rode a white horse and ran away in panic, but because the horse's leg was hit by an arrow, so it sent him flying over the cliff. Fortunately, the tree branch had absorbed most of the force, so Glass still survived, but because he had been lying in the snow for so long, his body was about to collapse. Seeing that the blizzard was about to hit, to survive, he put Bakma belly aside, then he took off his clothes and built a temporary shelter. Only then could he survive in the cold, snowy wind of the next day. God finally loved him. He survived again. Although the landscape after the endless snow and loneliness had now become his greatest enemy, he never forgot his mission and wrote the murderer name on the wall on the other side of a man he met. Accident www. Knocking on the door of the base, he said that their caravan was attacked by Urukara people and he was the only one to escape. He hoped to have a bite to eat and then take out all the solid food. The boy looked at it and accepted it. Turns out the kettle on the table is the kettle that Glass accidentally left in the camp. The captain quickly led people out to search and finally found Glass on a dark night. When they saw his face clearly, everyone was extremely shocked. After being torn to pieces by a bear, he was able to survive and return on his own. The captain angrily grabbed a hunting gun and rushed into the room. But by this time the hunter had disappeared and had even taken away their dick. The captain was a little angry at him. Little Mai instead of Glass told the truth. The boy was also decided at that time. Now the dead man has returned. How can he let go of his son murderer? Glass and the captain are chasing relentlessly. They must catch him. The two of them started searching along the footprints left in the snow until they reached a fork and then disappeared. They had to split up, and this was also a trap set by the hunter. The captain was the first person to encounter this guy, even though he knew the chance of winning was very slim, but he still resolutely pulled out his gun. The gunshots also started Glass, but when he arrived, he only saw the team's cowl form. Chief Glass had to take him to the base first, and the cunning hunter was waiting early on the only road. He held a hunting gun and carefully walked forward. However, when he opened close, he froze. Glass pretended to be dead. He suddenly stood up but only hit the opponent's shoulder. Glass picked up the gun and followed closely, but the forest had become his natural barrier. He was not careful and rolled down the side of the pot. Glass didn't hesitate. He jumped down. After falling, so he was exhorted. The cunning hunter didn't want to hide anymore. He wanted to use his son Death to stimulate him, but now Glass recognized the guy's face. Glass held the kite and rushed forward without giving his opponent a chance. Had the opportunity to speak up during the intersection. Glass held absolute power and easily stabbed the knife into his opponent's stomach, but he was also kicked away by the guy. Glass caught up, rode on his body and vowed to avenge his son. This guy also started to panic. He begged Glass for his life because the hatred was also involved. The next time Glass heard it, he seemed to realize the problem. He understood the principle of an ans karma. When will it end? But when he raised his head, he saw a pair of Urukara people walking from afar. Glass thought of a great way he wanted to leave revenge in the hands of God. He floated down the river. What awaited him would be even more brutal than Glass' revenge. In the end it was over. But now he didn't have the strength to hide anymore. He saw the Urukara people coming towards him, but they didn't make a move. Only then did Glass realize that the woman on the horse was the one he conveniently saved when he stole his horse, was also saved because of my own kindness. This is the end of the movie. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new movie. Bye bye.